Our third tapas is going to be savoury stuffed hard-boiled eggs, which sounds a bit unappetising, but actually they taste really delicious. We're going to use just ordinary tuna fish in oil, drain it really, really well, and push it into a little basin. That needs to be seasoned, so we're putting about a tablespoon of mayonnaise type dressing in with the mayonnaise, perhaps put a tablespoon and a half there. And season it really well. Lots of salt, lots of freshly ground pepper, and just to give it that extra pungency, a little bit of grated garlic. This garlic will give out its flavour as the eggs are stored in the fridge, and the end result will taste brilliant. So sort of mash that together. I'm using a wooden spoon for this. It's really the right implement. We don't particularly want to chop up the pieces of fish, but more that we want to sort of mash it together. And it wants to become quite thick, because we're going to handle this, we're going to shape it into a fish topping to go onto the eggs, onto the hard-boiled eggs. This is looking quite good. You can see how it's beginning to stick together, and it will hold nicely on the top of a spoon, so I know that when I put my hands in there it's going to shape nicely. Now we've got the pasty tuna fish filling ready, I'm going to move on to dealing with the eggs. The eggs need to be hard boiled, and just a little tip, because some people don't boil their eggs for long enough. You need to put your eggs into the pan, cover them with water, bring them to the boil. When you hear that jiggling noise, that the banging of the eggs on the pan, that means they're started to boil. Time them for 10 minutes. When you've timed them for 10 full minutes, put them in cold water and allow them to go cold, and then you can start to work with the hard-boiled eggs. So here we've got 3 hard-boiled eggs. Interestingly enough, if you put a hard-boiled egg on the surface and spin it, it spins differently and faster than a non-hard-boiled egg, so that's how you can tell if one is hard-boiled or not. Useful things to have in the cupboard for egg sandwiches. Most people don't like hard-boiled eggs because of the smell. They do have rather an unpleasant smell, but they're well worth creating into a nice product. Now, I'm going to cut the eggs in half and cut a slice off the bottom, because if I don't do that, the eggs are going to wobble over. You see how that one's wobbling? If I cut a slice off the bottom of it, then my egg will stand nicely on the unit. We want them to look good in the bowl that we serve them in, so we just take that little slice off. And then we can deal with shaping our tuna mixture onto the hard-boiled egg. There it is in my hand. You can see how it's quite easy to shape, and you can just push that gently onto the egg base. And then we'll look at decorating that. There's one. There's 2. We'll do 2 more, because that will just fit this little dish. This is quite a substantial tapas, and because the egg's hard boiled, that will sit nicely in the fridge and the flavours will develop. And in a moment I'm going to decorate them as well. They'd probably do a half an egg per person, and then I'll show you how to decorate them off in a minute. I'm just going to add the finishing touches to these eggs, because these are really the most substantial of the tapas that we've done. This is sort of like the main course tapas in a sense. So I'm just going to use a stuffed olive, cut the end bits off that aren't particularly nice, and cut some nice slices out of the middle of the stuffed olives. You could use black olives if you want, they look really good against the tuna. And then the back of a knife into some of that smoked paprika that we used earlier on in the day, and just put a couple of little stripes onto the tapas, and that will add a little bit of flavour as the day goes on. And there you go.